Good afternoon. Welcome to this sunshiny day we have. Beautiful weather. Still a little chilly, but that's all right. We I was thinking as we're coming up on the week of the triumphal entry and then Jesus's last Passover and his crucifixion. As I was reading through the book of Mark, in Mark chapter 8, verse 31, and Mark chapter 9, verse 31, and Mark chapter 10, verse 32, in all three of these moments, Jesus is telling his disciples that he's going to be taken into the hands of the Gentiles and he's going to be abused and ultimately killed. And in the first one, in chapter 8, Peter says, I don't want you to do this. You can't do this because it's not going to happen that way. And Jesus says, get behind me, Satan. In the second time, he says these things, and then the disciples start to argue among themselves about who's the greatest. And then the third time, in chapter 10, this is the one I want to focus on. Jesus tells them that he's going to be handed over and all of these bad things are going to happen and he's going to die. And then James and John come up to him and they say, promise us, give us what we want. And he says, well, what is it that you want? And he says, they say, promise that each of us, one will sit on your right hand and one will sit on your left hand when you come into the kingdom. And Jesus tells them, that's not my place to give. Are you able to go through what I'm going to be going through? And they say, oh yeah, we're able to go through it. And he goes, you will go through it. You will go through the baptism that I'm going to have to go through. But I can't give you those places. And then there's a fight between the apostles because they hear about, what had went on with James and John. And Jesus says, the Gentiles use their authority to lord it over one another. But it's not that way with you. You're going to be servants. And that is a continuing idea when Jesus talks about him going to the cross and the disciples start to argue with each other. He always comes back to this. You need to be servants of one another. You may not understand the situation. And in fact, they didn't understand very much at all. And they thought that there was going to be some grand earthly kingdom and that Jesus was going to sit on the throne and Jerusalem was going to be the center of the world, But what Jesus' message is that you need to do the will of the Father. And the will of the Father is that you need to serve each other. Now, right now, it's easy to pull away because we're in a kind of a quarantine. But remember that we are here to serve each other. And if you would, take some time to call 2 or 3 people who you can check in on just to see how they're doing and make sure they're all right, because we are to be servants of one another. And so think about each other, love each other, check in on each other, and because this could be a lonely and isolated time. But let's reach out and love each other. Thank you.